Due to recent xenophobic attacks in South Africa, the chairman of the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, Oshiomhole, has urged the federal government and the citizens of Nigeria to take strong measures against firms owned by South Africans in Nigeria by boycotting their products and services. Now, even though this declaration seems patriotic, can Nigerians and the economy survive without these multinationals? Well, still with me, I have Rahman Adebi and Lulu Elegbe. I'll start with you, Rahman. So, not because I want to promote these businesses, but we know we can, and literally just call the names of these businesses in Nigeria. I mean, if you want to go to a big store to buy, let's say, I'm thinking like a mirror, or the first name that pops in your head is the big shopping mall, which is owned by South Africans, so it's a South African business. They have insurance, offices in Nigeria. There's so many of their businesses around us. If we decide to boycott them, that is if we decide to, can we survive? And let's not also forget that these businesses employ a lot of Nigerians. As patriotic as it sounds, is it doable?
Yeah, there's nothing that's not doable. But the question is it in tandem with the international best practice? The question is, the answer is a possible answer on the table, but extreme. Mm-hmm. Extreme because you are a country that accept people to come and invest into your country, to come and to employ your people, and at the same time to give opportunity. What happened in South Africa is a failure of leadership on the part of the South African leaders, and on the part of the African leaders by themselves. How do I mean? When issues happen and you nip it in the bud, it will never happen again. What South Africa needed at Benicio was the first time it happened if the whole of African leaders rise up and tell the president, if you do this, we're going to sanction you. They will stop. Look at America. America has a law of reciprocity. Immediately you do something, they'll come back at you and put it on your face. And because South Africans are their people. The people who are perpetrating this crime among them. There are very few people. Because I'm saying there are very few people because the people who are perpetrating these crimes are criminals. And they do not have the knowledge to understand the international nature of what they're doing. It has come and it's come
so
to
you're
roost
saying
to
that
the
those
face
who
now.
killed Nigerians, Zimbabweans, Zambians, and Ghanaians are criminals?
They are criminals.
Are you sure?
Very sure. And the challenge is the government of South Africa needed to have stopped them and arrest them.
So you're saying, I'm still struggling with this. The mammoth crowd of people who were killing other human beings in South Africa are all criminals? I'm not sure that that's actually a term that we can all go with.
Because it's black killing black. Black killing black.
The act may be criminal, but
yeah, it's a crime.
Are they criminals?
They are criminals.
Or are they just ignorant?
What is ignorance? Ignorance of the law is an excuse. They are criminals. But the bottom line is the government of South Africa failed their citizenry to educate them. Because one of the things, and the comments coming from those of their ministers in position of authority is not helping matter. And when, as a government, if I am the president of Nigeria, the first thing I was going to do, the first time it happened about 5-10 years ago, is to call African Union and sanction South Africa. By the time you sanction them, it won't get to this level of brutality and mess that we have found ourselves as a continent. Because for Africa, this is not good for us. Because we need each other as brothers to grow this continent together. And the mentality of the South African need to be corrected. Because they need to appreciate the fact that every African supported their country to get them out of apartheid. But after getting out of apartheid, they feel the fact that the few Nigerians who are doing, who are owning shops on their street and everything are their challenge. Forgetting the fact that the real challenge, they are still the people who enslaved them the first time. They're still around there having access to their treasury, having access to their wealth and resource. But they couldn't fight them because they still feel enslaved, sorry to use the word, and thinking that the Africans who have come to liberate them are the one who they should begin to repel. It's a function of a failure of government, because if their government has done an enlightenment campaign to begin to orientate them. I think they did that some time ago, because I was in SA during the World Cup, and they told us that I think after the World Cup there will be a xenophobic attack. I said, why? And they said it's always natural for them because they feel intimidated when they see especially black people coming into their country doing well, because they feel that Nigerians and other African countries, they are not laid back. We are very industrious, very hardworking, and very aggressive to take opportunity. One of the things I found one thing among them is that they have the opportunity to go to the best schools, but they will never go because the mentality that they took out of apartheid is still with them. So the government need to have done a lot of work, a lot of mental reorientation to get them out of that space. But the government failed. And this is the repercussion now spilling to the law of Africa. Because I pray that they get over this, because this cannot be cleared in a decade. Because...
Okay. I spoke with a South African 3 weeks ago. And I said, have you ever been to Nigeria? And he said, no, not really. And I said, why? He said, well, I didn't even expect it. He said, I feel very intimidated by Nigerians and Nigeria. And I probed further because I wanted to understand why. He said, I don't know, I just feel like they're very intimidating people. And I said, do I intimidate you? Because I had never heard that before, but I'm getting to understand that. But the underlying factor is that they keep saying that we're drug dealers, we're engaged in sharp practices, and this has... But that's for Nigerians. Gambians were killed, Zimbabweans, were attacked, even Ghanaians. So if they say the foreigners are a problem, then Nigerians are not really the problem.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, I agree with everything he said 200%, because the problem isn't Nigerians per se. And yes, Nigerians, I know from experience that Nigerians intimidate not just South Africans, Nigerians intimidate every African country. That's the reality. I studied in Moscow, in Russia, and we had, in the university we had students from pretty much every country on earth. So we had a lot of people from African countries. And we Nigerians used to feel like superstars because for some reason we never quite understood. They held Nigerians in this awe that we liked it, but we didn't understand it. So when people say Nigerians intimidate them, it's not because we're trying to be, it's just how Nigerians are. Now, unfortunately, South Africans are coming out of centuries of oppression and apartheid. And when you think about it, apartheid only ended 25 years ago. It's not that long. It means that anyone really from the age of, 30 or upwards doesn't know anything else. So it's going to take a while for that to come out of their heads. Now, they see people from other African countries doing things that they want to do. They cannot do it, not because they don't have the right to do it, but the mentality to go out and do it is not yet there. So they see other African, not just Nigerians, Ghanaians, Zambians, but none of what they don't understand is that Nigerians, Ghanaians, Gambians, Sierra Leoneans, they're not coming from a history of apartheid. They're coming from, at worst, colonialism. And Nigeria gained independence in 1960. So really, it's people of our parents' generations that would understand that colonial mentality, or those that could. We wouldn't have an issue having a conversation with a quote-unquote a white man, for example, because we just don't. We see them every day.
We're
Exactly, it's not an issue. But the average black South African is still intimidated by a white man, not because he wants to be, but that's because of how they've grown up. So apartheid is over as a state policy, but in reality, it's still how the country runs today.
This is the question I keep asking. So there are people if they're talking about foreigners, then foreigners is an all-encompassing word. So it's detailed for the Germans, the Asians, the Caucasians who live there. How come this anger does not span
because they
towards...
see, because they see, and that's exactly my point. They see the black man as an easy target, because as far as they're concerned, he's no different from me. How can he do X, Y, Z and I can't do it? How can a Nigerian come into my country and tomorrow he's driving a BMW, he must be doing something illegal because I've been here 20 years and I couldn't make X, Y, Z happen. But the Nigerian can make it happen because he's coming from a place of hustle. He understands how to get things done. The average black South African doesn't. Not because they're not hardworking, not because they don't want to, but they're still coming from that place of oppression. So mentally, they're still there. They haven't come out of that yet. Apartheid, it really hasn't been that long. So they're still very much there. I was in the last time I was in South Africa was in 2017, I think, in Cape Town. It was my first time there. And I remember making a comment then that what I noticed, I went to a spa with my family and we're shopping because we stayed at an Airbnb. We were there for about a week. So went shopping there. We were the only black people there that were shopping. And all the other black people there were shop attendants. And straight away, I think the manager or someone, she knew we weren't South Africans because we were chatting away, we were laughing. And it was obvious that we weren't intimidated. We were just, for us, it was normal. And it seemed strange to them. So she had to ask her, she said, where are you people from? And we said, we're Nigerian. She said, oh, I should have guessed. And so that's telling in terms of how the country is today. So when South Africans start attacking foreigners, it's not really foreigners, it's other black people. Because as far as they're concerned, how can you come into their country and achieve X, Y, Z when they can't? And the only reason that they can't is because of where they still are mentally. So
these businesses that, they are not able to shop in, have been brought to our country, is engaging a lot of our young, even our old. If we boycott these businesses, it means we're boycotting ourselves. It means that we're going to create some form of hardship. I mean, for example, MTN keeps sending us text messages every day that the offices are still shut. And that means that somebody's not going to work. How does this, I'll just give you guys 1 minute each because we're out of time. How do we do this without hurting ourselves?
The first thing is too wrong to make it right. If South Africans were wrong, we need to show the big brother to tell them how to do things.
But we've been doing that the whole time, and they're still killing us.
No, the government just need to say that when you want to sanction, there are ways to sanction. If you sanction South African companies in Nigeria and say that because of the crisis caused by your country, you can only repatriate only 10% of your profit back to your country, they will sit up. You see, when you use policy directions are meant to shape, control, and coerce people to what you desire.
Okay. And
I agree with that. And I think part of the problem is the lack of consequence. Because if all the other times this thing has happened over the last few years, if strong, decisive actions were taken, this wouldn't be happening right now. And because those things didn't, it's like everything else that happens in Nigeria, really. We have armed robbery, kidnappings, and all these things because the people that carry out these things, 9 times out of 10, they don't get caught. When they do get caught, you never hear of any court cases or anything like that. So it keeps happening. And when South Africans keep killing Nigerians and other people from other African countries and nothing happens, or you hear their president or their ministers saying, well, it didn't really happen, or if 20 people died, they said it was 2 people that... So by the time all those things happen, it just means it's not been taken with the seriousness that it should. So boycotting these companies, I wouldn't really say boycott. I think I agree. I think it's sanctions. Sanctions. Once that happens, once it hits their revenue, something will change. Something will definitely change.
Well, something has to change. Thank you very much, Lulu Elizabeth, political analyst, Rahman Adebi, public affairs analyst. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. It's been an interesting conversation. All right. Well, we'll go on a short break for now and bring you our plus packages. And when we return, I will be giving you my take.
The recent passage and signing into law of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund Act has been trailed by a series of reactions from experts. Security experts at a 2-day dialogue on the act, organized by the Clean Foundation in Abuja with the theme Accountability and Transparency, said the fund will help the police address challenges of unavailable equipment, poor training, poor performance, and low morale.
Passage by the National Assembly and presidential assent to the Police Trust Fund Bill is one of the best things that has ever happened to our security sector in recent times. The stake of our police force, an institution constitutionally charged with our internal security, has been pitiable. This is not for want of capable and committed officers, but the glaring lack of absence of the wherewithal to do the work. The Nigerian police lacks all the basic facilities to ensure that its officers and men give up their best in the service of their fatherland. The Police Trust Fund is therefore expected to provide the required impetus for our police force to be adequately equipped to face the security challenges of the 21st century in a multi-ethnic and religious nation such as ours.
A major factor which has greatly inhibited the effective performance of the Nigerian police force is poor funding and utilization. Suffice to say that there is no organization that can achieve its objectives without the provision of adequate funds to meet its obligations. A cursory look at the various reports on reform of the Nigerian police force, including a landmark CSO panel report organized by the Clean Foundation in the year 2012, revealed that the police low performance has been hinged on lack or inadequacy of funds for training of personnel and the provision of the required logistics for virtually all aspects of policing functions.
The present bill was passed by the 8th National Assembly and signed into law by the President in June 2019 to end the journey that began on the 9th of May 2018 when the bill was first introduced to the National Assembly. With this gathering today, we begin the next step, the next lap of the journey by making an insight into setting the agenda for the incoming board and management of the trust fund.
Well, it's time for my take. The federal government, in fact, Mr. President, had said to us that we were somewhat getting towards food security. Now the World Bank has come out to raise an alarm that, in fact, the food crisis has gotten to a rate in which the bells are ringing. So who do we believe? Well, the reality is on the ground is that there's a lot that we need to do. Let's start with basic things like getting us to have good road networks for those who are producing our food to be able to take the food to people who need it. Let's also talk about the mechanized farming and technology. Let's talk about storage. Let's talk about everything that those countries we want to imitate or those countries that we want to match up with are doing. We go to these countries, we see the things that they're doing. We're supposed to bring it back home and implement it so that we can also be able to compete on the international stage. But the reverse is the case. Which way, Nigeria? And of course, Adams Oshiomhole asking us to boycott businesses that belong to South Africa. So, don't use your phone. Don't watch TV. Don't go to those shops. There are people who work in those shops who are Nigerians. That means taking food out of their mouths. Shouldn't we be thinking about sanctions? Maybe that would have been a better way of dealing with the issue. Well, think about it. My name is Mary Anacone. It's been Plus Politics. Have a lovely day.